Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome once more to the second presentation of part two of Voices for the Ketron event keyboard. If by any chance you actually missed out on the first couple of tutorials, subscribe to the channel. There's be a link on the bottom of this page. You can subscribe and also turn on your notifications. That way, whenever we put up a new video, you're going to get the alert. But real quick, let's just talk about the selection of voices that we discussed in the first set of videos. So again, very simple on the event. Simply select the voice category you want to go to, in this case piano, and on the side of the screen you can make your voice selections. You know, we just had a Latin piano over there. And then also a little trick while we're talking about this. You notice I was trying to do like a sustain over there. I'm using what we call the optional FS6 pedal. And to program that pedal, not to sidetrack too much here, you just go to menu and you click on the foot switch, and once you do that, you're going to have this diagram, and you can instantly program the foot switches for tons of functionality. In this case, I simply touched pedal number 6 right there. If I zoom out so you can see, you just touch the pedal and then you assign what you want to do. In this case, I want to do sustain, and I put that and it gets inserted in the bottom. So let's say you want to program number 5, you touch that and you select arranger A. You put it there. Once you go to the screen, you see that pedal number 5 is now programmed for arranger A, which means that when you attempt to, or when you step on the pedal, number 5, it'll trigger arranger A. Number 6 will trigger the fill, like we did right now for the piano. So that was just to bring some of you up to speed in what we did in the first video of voice selection, which can be done on the panel over here. Now in this part 2, we're still in voices. We're going to now discuss how you can either layer voices, or you can actually create voices as well from scratch, which is the voice editor. So let me take you back to the screen there gradually, and what we're going to do is we're going to now come into this particular menu here. So back to the default screen. This is where you want to start off with. So let's say, for an example, I have this voice, in this case it's Latin piano, and I wanted to try to create another voice or do some editing. All you do is you touch and hold that voice for 2 seconds, and it opens up this screen right here. Now this is your voice editor. Now, as humongous as this looks like, it's very, very simple to understand, okay? So let me explain how this works. So if you notice from left to right on your rows, these are your voices. That's the first voice. All these are second, and these are the third. So in other words, there's a first voice, second voice, and a third voice, okay? Now, to explain this, and answering a question that we got on the channel. So yeah, Ketron sometimes intermixes voices, right? So a voice or a preset, okay? In this particular case, voice 1 and voice 2 are your presets. These are preset voices which are made up of different elements or different sounds, right? So for example, I could have a piano voice which is made up of a grand piano or maybe a Steinway or something of that nature, right? Layered together. Those make up what we call voices, which are preset voices, which you can instantly recall. So how do you create a preset? If you want to look at it from that particular point of view, let's go back in and see what it is. So right now we went into the voice editor, and like I said, the first voice over there, these are all the parameters. So in this case, if I zoom in on the screen, I can see that for the first voice, it's on right now, which is called Latin piano. The volume of that voice is 120 out of 127. The reverb amount is 30, the shift up or down, the tuning, the panning, the chorus, or the insert value for that voice. So every column represents the characteristics, and then the rows are the voices. As you can see on the screen right now for this particular piano, there's only one voice that's on that made up this particular preset. If I want to have an additional sound, I just turn that on by touching the icon right there, and it will turn it on. See, now it turned in red. So now this particular preset voice we're working on is actually made up of 2 voices. And you can see it's Latin piano and pianissimo. Now, if I want to change that pianissimo, let's say I wanted to dedicate that voice 2 to be a second sound, a different sound, okay? I just simply touch and hold that, and it brings me to this screen over here where I can do my selection. Let's say I want to make it strings. I'm going to go into the string category, and I'm going to pick, let's say, philharmonic strings. Now that's going to be my second sound within this voice I'm creating, right? So now, when I play like this, I can hear both of them on at the same time, right? Again, if I turn this off, that's what our original voice we started with, and now Let me go ahead and be a little bit more creative. I want to turn on the third voice and I want to change that from whatever it is right now. I want to pick, let's say, a brass instrument, and I'm looking for a trumpet sound. So right here, I don't see what I'm looking for. I turn the wheel and go to page 2. And again, you can see on the side here, on the right-hand side, it gives you different kinds of trumpets. I can try the number 3, jazz trumpet right there. So you can see now I can actually hear 3 different sounds, right? So I've just made my own preset, which is made up of Latin, Philharmonic, and jazz trumpet. And I can, again, adjust the volumes for these independently if I want to. Now it gets exciting. Of course, for most people, this will not make sense, right? Having this sound over there. But guess what? If I go over to page 2, where it gets very, very interesting, for the same voices, I now have different parameters I can set. So for an example, I can set the range of this piano, of this sound, right? So the first voice is Latin piano. I want that sound to be heard where? I'm going to press the first note on the screen, and I'm going to touch right here where I want it to start. Let's just, for the sake of this demonstration, I want it to start here, and it's already moved on to the next box. Where do you want this sound to end when you're performing? I want the sound to end here. So this is splitting of the particular instrument, right? The second voice, second sound, I want it to be heard from here to here. And the third sound, I want that to be heard from here all the way to the top. So if I did this correctly, if I play here, I got that Latin piano. If I play here, I got the Philharmonic string. And if I play here, jazz trumpet. But you see the pitch is so high, right? It's really out of range of the natural instrument. So I'm going to go back to page 1. And for this sound, the jazz trumpet, I'm going to touch the shift, and I'm going to shift this down half steps until I get it down an octave. Okay, that's minus 12. So now that trumpet sounds a little bit better, right? So even though you're moving the sound within a particular split range or particular split point, you can use the shift to change it via octave and bring it back to its natural sounding area, okay? So I did that because I wanted to show you that example. So let's get on, let's get creative right now. So here I have this trumpet sound, and over here I got my strings, but the volume of those strings are typically lower than everything else, right? So what am I gonna do? You guessed correctly. I'm gonna touch the volume of the string, which is 80 right there, and I'm gonna bring that up a little bit louder. Cool. And the trumpet actually was a little bit too loud. I'm going to touch the volume for the trumpet and bring that one down. So this is what you do at home when you're setting up your voices and your sounds. Got the strings over there, and I got that piano. That piano is just nice and sweet. I'm going to drop the reverb amount for the piano. I'm going to bring that down a little bit, okay? So now I have this particular interesting voice. Oh, I noticed that the panning on the jazz trumpet is right on 63R, which means that it's all the way to the right speaker. If you're hearing this through a stereo system, that's probably where you heard the trumpet coming from. So I'm going to spin this wheel, or data wheel, and bring this back down to about 0. You know what? Let me get creative. I'm going to put this left at about 22. I'm going to put the panning on this one right at about 25, and I'm going to put the panning of this one maybe a little bit like that, just to have some stereo, some good stereo imaging when I play this through my sound system, okay? So that's, again, we're not gonna go through everything in this video, but just to give you an idea of how you do your voice editing, okay? So for this first example, let's hear how it sounds. But before I do that, I'm gonna test it out, and it sounds cool. So I'm gonna hit save now. Now if you notice it says save the voice, okay, which is the Latin category. Okay, where do I want to put this voice at? The piano family, where where it came in, originally came from, or in an empty location, or do I want to put it in a particular location per se? Okay, and if you notice on the event, what is interesting now is, unlike the SD90 or SD9, I'm trying to explain and answer people's questions along the way. When you had user voices, those voices were saved into locations, and when you recall those locations by registration, it meant that if a voice was taken out and the other ones moved up, guess what? Because the registration recalls the location of the sound, not the actual sound itself, you would now have a different sound selection. So if you, let's say you had 30 voices in there and you had your registrations and you went ahead and made 50 new voices, or you deleted a couple and left with 2, well, guess what happens? You've now also messed up with the registration setting. So what Ketron has done right now in this instant is that the voices actually have numbers. In that case, a registration still points to the location, but if you delete a voice, the other locations don't move, right? The other voices do not move. And so you can always create a new voice and replace that one that was deleted, which means your registrations now remain unaffected. But that's a topic for down the road in our umpteenth video when we're talking about registrations. That ties everything together. Let's go back to voices again and see what's happening here. I just figured I'll mention that in passing. So right now, if you notice, you have your stuff. I do have this screen over here. So once you've done the voice, once you've actually created the voice, you want to go ahead and save this voice in the user location. And you hit the save button and you come up with this particular screen. Now let's zoom in so you can see some of the details here. So I'm going to select exactly in the user voice. Like I said before, you cannot override the factory. You want to just make a copy of this and save it onto the user voice. The reason being that in the future, if you need to go back to start afresh or to still keep a copy of the factory sound or the factory voice, you want to make sure that you have it handy and ready to go. So in this case, now I'm going to go here and I'm going to zoom out so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so if I touch the family, I can now determine where I want to put that voice at. Okay, so I'm going to leave it in the piano category. Again, remember, we're in the user voice piano category, and empty location right there. I want to see if I have another spot. Like I said before, that's why now it's being numbered, so you can select exactly what location you want to save a particular voice into. I'm going to go back into location number 1 right there in the piano. So you can see you can actually save 128 voices in every single group. Okay, so let's go in location number 1, which is empty right now. I'm going to hit save as, and I'm going to give this one a name, and I'm going to call this one AJ Mix, right? And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm going to come back to this later and do something else for you. Hit enter, and that has now been stored, right? So if you look at this, especially with an external monitor, you actually have a better view of what you're doing. So let's go back in now and see exactly where that voice is, okay? So to recall that voice, I want to be able to use that voice for the show or the gig. What do? You simply go back into your voice 1, okay? Now remember, like I said before, it's a user voice, so this button has to be on to recall the voice. And you can see right there in the first location, it says AJ Mix. So when you touch that, that voice gets loaded over there, okay? And because it was in the piano category, that's what we have. So now to play that AJ Mix, remember we had the piano down here, then we had our strings here, and we'll have that little beautiful trumpet over here. Now the octave of that trumpet, I can go back and see if I can change that again because it doesn't sound to the best. Go back here and touch it again and go back in there, and we have that jazz trumpet in there. And I'm going to go ahead, no wonder, because we had not saved the pan. I'm going to pan it a little bit to the left, pan this one a little bit to the right, and pan that guy a little bit over there. Now I can hear that trumpet coming out the way I wanted it to be, okay? I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Yes, go back to AJ Mix. Go ahead and save that. Do you want to override it? Yes, I do. And AJ Mix is going to be in there as the first voice. Now, just to give you an idea of how the numbering is, okay? You see the numbers? That's number 1, that's number 2. So it's not like this, okay? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's how the locations are when you do number these. So now, if I want to play that trumpet over here, the beautiful AJ sound, which is a mix, I have it 3 different sounds that make up this voice called AJ Mix. First one is the piano, second one, third. And now why is this useful? This is also useful because of the fact that, let's say I go back into my Latin style. I'm going to go into the Latin category and I'm going to pick the user style because I want to pick that AjamSonic Latin salsa. I'm going to go into Latin and I'm going to pick it right there. Okay. So now when I play this tune, I can do something like this, which is very interesting. A key start over there. You get the idea. I can have instant access to 3 different voices. But again, Anyone can do that, right? Now let's get into the part 2, and that's why I'll tell you why I say this as AJ Mix. Because now in this other section of this video, I'm going to go back again to that voice, which was under AJ Mix. Touch and hold for 2 seconds. Get back into my voice editor. And what do we have? I want to explain the other part of this before we terminate this video. So in this first case, we use the range to determine where on the keyboard you want to hear that particular sound, right? I'm going to go ahead and cancel out this. And what I'm going to do is I don't want to have a range over here in this case. Okay, so I want to go back here and bring this all the way down to 0. Because I don't want to have any ranges. I want to instead use velocity. Now I'm going to go to page 2. So the 3 sounds are heard across the entire piano, the entire keyboard. But what I want to do now is I want to use the velocity, all right? So if I go here to page 2, I can actually set how hard or how soft should I hear each sound. So let me zoom in on the page and so you can see what I'm talking about. So with the velocity, which is your right in the middle, you can set how hard, which is the first number, and the second number is the limit, the maximum velocity that you want to hear that particular sound. So in the case of the piano, let me zoom out so you can see what I'm doing. If I want to play this piano, I want this piano sound to be heard when I play, so that now the piano is across the entire board, right? All the 3 sounds are across the entire keyboard. But I want to set this up so that when I play the piano, it should be only when I play soft. So from 1 to 76 is what I'm going to set as my piano value. Now I'm going to start the next one, which is strings, at 77 in the velocity. And this is very tricky, okay? This is how you start playing with articulations and stuff. So let's say I'm going to start at 77 and I want to end at, let's say, 90, 95. And the trumpet sound, I want to hear that when I hit very, very hard. So I'm going to put this at 96. Let's see here. 96 to 127, okay? So throughout the entire keyboard, all right? Throughout the entire keyboard, the way I have it set up right now, if I play soft, I can hear the piano. If I play a little bit harder, see how it's tricky? And if I play really, really hard, so the strings right now is giving me a hard time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually, let me show you here, because this happens in real life, right? So I'm going to now take the lower value of the trumpet a little bit higher, let's say to 100, okay? And I'm going to also, because right here is very close between these two, I'm going to take these strings up to, let's say 84, all right? That's 85. And then, actually no, drop it down to, let's say 64, and then go here back to that piano and make it 63, right? Just to show you the demonstration, but you have to be very good at this, you know. So that's my piano, a little bit harder, and very, very hard. So now, you know, just to do a test here, I'm gonna hit save. And I'm going to say save at. Now, do I want to say AJ Mix? I want to probably change this to location number 2. And I'm going to save this as AJ Mix number 2. All right. And then hit enter. So now I got those 2 over there, as you can see on the screen, right? Oh, yeah, on this screen. AJ Mix 1 and Mix 2. So the regular original one that we did was AJ Mix 1, which is the one where we had over here piano. Over here we had strings, and over here trumpet. Now in AJ Mix number 2, all the 3 voices are across the entire keyboard, but I trigger or I play those voices by how soft, how medium, and how hard I play, right? And so the beauty about that is, guess what? Now I can actually still go back to that little salsa we're doing and play that without having to worry about changing voices. Just another way to enjoy the events. So in this next example, I'm going to do something more practical for the kind of music. Let's again, think about the salsa that we just played on the style section, okay? And I want to create a sound that's going to be particularly interesting and for that kind of music, some nice heavy brass section. So let's dive into the event and see what we can do with this interesting setup. So once again, we have the voice screen, all right? So for my first voice, I'm going to change that from the Latin piano. I'm going to call up a brass voice, and I'm looking for that over there. I'm going to go into the brass category. And then, of course, I'm going to see what sound I would like to use. Let's see, funky brass. Okay, that has a nice attack. Okay, that'll be my first voice, my first sound, okay? My second sound is the Philharmonic strings. I don't want that in there. Touch and hold for a second. And it gives me the screen where I can pick what sound I'm looking for. Again, I'm going to go to the brass section. And this time I want to put a trumpet in there. You can hear how it's already beginning to build up, okay? And by doing this layering, it actually gives me other parameters to even sound much more live, okay? And I'll explain that in a second. Let's see, the jazz trumpet number 3, I want to keep that there. But I'm going to switch that sound out, and I want to pick some sort of a roll-off sound. And I'm going to go here and turn the wheel and see, let's see, trombone attack, trumpets slide up, trumpets fall. Okay, how about trumpets fall, okay? So there we go. So now what I'll do is, I'm going to go now onto, and again, you can see the screen. Let's go closer so you can see what I'm doing. As I am touching, I'm going to go to page 2 of this editor. And for the first sound and second sound, I'm going to keep them the way they are. But the third sound, I want that to be performed when I hit the keyboard extremely hard. So I'm going to put the lowest part or the lowest velocity up at 95. And for these other guys, I don't want them to be playing when it's that loud. So I'm going to drop these to 94. And also this to 94. So these will go off. As a matter of fact, maybe not. I'll cross these, all right, cross section here. Put them at 99, let's say at 100. So there's this little area where you hear everything. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to offset the attack on the first one such that when I hit that hard, I don't want it to sound the same way all the time. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to change that offset value there. All right, now I'll begin to try the keyboard as I'm doing this so I can hear how it sounds like in real life. You see, that trumpet sound is a little bit low in volume there. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to go to the volume of that sound, which is, it's 127, so it's already kind of maxed out. So what we can do is we can insert an effect and then go to the effect engine and actually run that through that so I can boost up, say, add the chorus and some other stuff in there. So like you can hear right now with the effects on that voice. Okay, so now the jazz trumpet sounds a little bit too low, bring that down. This one sounds a little bit too loud, bring it up. So again, jazz trumpet is a little bit low now. Bring down this one. Okay, so you have the idea, right? And then I'm going to go to page 2. Okay, and that's beautiful. So this sounds good. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. If I'm right, yes. So save voice AJAM mix number 2 to the piano family. Yeah, I can keep it in there for the sake of this demonstration. And I'm going to hit save as, and I'm going to call this one AJAM mix number 3 and enter. You want to overwrite number 2 with number 3? Because it's at the same location. I'm going to say no. So I'm going to go to touch the mix right here and go down to the next one, number 3, which is empty location, okay? So number 3 is empty, and then I'm going to hit save as, and I'm going to rename this. I could give it the same name too, but I'm just going to call this 3 because now they're going to different locations. All right, so I got AjamSonic, AjamSonic, and AjamSonic. And if I give you a closer look at the screen, this is what they look like, right? Okay, beautiful. So if I select AjamSonic right now, that's my main voice. That's my voice over there. Okay, it does the job. Now, why am I doing this? That's the question everybody's going to ask. Because in my mind, I already have an idea of what I'm looking for. I want to be able to play some brass section with different instruments. And when I hit it hard, I want to hear that trumpet with the trill right there at the end, right? So if I do something like this, I'm looking at this kind of result. Just again, this is just trying to get this video, show you with the short video exactly what to do. But of course, you might spend more time doing this in your environment, right? And see, and with the articulation, I can even add the articulation sound in there to that trumpet. But why am I doing this? Because I want to be able to come over here and go in here to my style and start this and listen to what we got right now. See that? So simple. So these are just some of the things you can do on this wonderful keyboard. The event is so easy to use. Yes, even a 5-year-old can use it as well too. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of a synopsis as to what you can do and the powerful tool that's actually found in the event voice editor. Now remember, you can also work with your own samples as well. You can actually load samples that you have in the sampler into that editor to create a voice preset. And that voice preset can be called up using either of the voice buttons, either voice 1 or voice 2. So you can actually have, for example, in voice 1, I'm going to have AJ mix number 3. In voice number 2, I'm going to have, select that voice number 2, and I'm going to go back to my user voice, and I'm going to have AJ mix number 2. So this gets very, very interesting because now in voice number 1, I actually have a preset voice, which is AJ mix number 1, made up of 3 voices. And in voice number 2, I have another AJ preset mix voice, which is made up of 3 sounds as well. So we got 6 things running here at the same time. That is huge. That is huge. So in the next video, we're going to continue, and I believe we'll talk about other voice elements such as adding harmonies and adding additional notes to the voices. So stay tuned, and again, if you haven't already done so, please kindly subscribe to the channel, leave us some comments as well, some of the stuff you would like to see on the event, and we shall be glad to show you that as we release tutorials or subsequent tutorial videos for this wonderful beast of a keyboard. It's actually a band in the box, right? Anyway, I shall talk to you guys later.